What is up everyone, and welcome back to another video. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about a very popular topic, which is going to be how to W key. Basically what I'll be doing in this video is going from early game to mid game to end game and giving you guys all the most important tips you can use in order to get more kills and be an effective W keyer. Before we get into the video, be sure to drop a like if it helps you out, subscribe to the channel if you're new and you want to see more content just like this in the future, and of course it's always super appreciated if you could use code Teckoh in the item shop. It's 100% free for you, it only takes a couple seconds to type in, and it seriously does help me out a bunch. So as always, a giant thank you to everyone who uses it. But with all that said, we've got a lot to cover, so let's get straight into today's video. So starting off this video, and the first part of the game we're going to talk about is obviously going to be our early game. And as you might expect, the first part of early game in any W key game is going to be picking your drop spot. If you want to get some early game kills, there are going to be two main options for a drop spot. One of these is to land at a major POI and get into fights off spawn. And then the other option is to land at a minor POI, which is usually either an unnamed spot or just a less popular main POI. And you can actually loot up there and then rotate into a POI once you're stacked. The major POI option is the best one for maximizing kills and getting the most that you possibly can, but it also runs the risk of dying off spawn more often, or you can even get third-partied by other people even in your early game. On the other hand, you can also land at a smaller POI with less people and then rotate into a major POI with more people, and you can go ahead and third-party everyone there. Usually you'll end up with better loot and HP at the end of it, and you'll be able to get kills on people in shambles situations that are in the larger POIs, because obviously if somebody's at a large POI and they just cleared out most of the teams at that spot, it's going to be really easy for you to come in and they're going to be low on HP, materials, and all that kind of stuff. And from there, oftentimes it's going to be pretty easy kills for you. If you want to land at a major POI and you're willing to risk spawn deaths, then the best spots to do this are probably going to be the new Season 4 POIs. All these are fairly popular, they have the vaults, and they have pretty darn good loot. So those are going to be Sanguine Suites, Eclipse Estate, and Relentless Retreat. If you want to take less risk off spawn, but you still want to get some kills, then the other option is to land at a less populated spot and rotate into the main POI, as we talked about a little bit earlier. Some spots I recommend for this are Breakwater Bay, since you can rotate into Eclipse Estate. Another good one is Frenzy Field, so you can go into Relentless Retreat, or you can go to the Temple next to Sanguine Suite, since you can loot up, maybe get a couple kills if you're contested, and then launch pad straight into the POI. So once you figure out your drop spot and your general landing strategy, the next key to early game is of course to actually get kills and win off spawn. And my biggest tip here is to focus on getting your materials, loot, and HP up as fast as you possibly can. A lot of people get caught up in the idea of just getting one gun and going for as many kills as possible, but generally that's going to result in you dying off spawn way more often. So unless you're purely trying to maximize the amount of kills you can possibly get to the absolute highest extent with no regard for whether you survive or not, then you're probably going to want to focus on getting at least a little bit stacked before you get into too many fights. Especially nowadays where you don't have siphon in most modes, this is incredibly important. Usually it's best to have an exact loot route in mind where you can get good HP, materials, and loot. That way you can set yourself up the best way possible for fighting later on. One great resource for you guys that I wanted to point out is Fortnite.gg, which is a website where you can see every chest spawn, every floor loot spawn, and virtually every other spawning item in the game. So it's a super good way to learn your drop spot, potentially develop a loot route, and just overall get a really good understanding for everything that's on the map. Once again, the website is just Fortnite.gg, so definitely give that a shot. So if you want to set up a loot route, or if you just want to learn more about your spot, then definitely give that a shot. With that said, guys, then next up we're going to be moving into mid game. Mid game is one of the more straightforward areas of your game, and the biggest decision here is really just going to be what fights to push and what loot to go for. A big tip I have for you guys in mid game is if you're W keying, focus specifically on getting combat caches when they spawn. These drop slurp juices, which I'm sure you know are wildly overpowered right now. You can basically get up to 200 HP with them every single time. So they're incredibly powerful for W keying because you can essentially get hit for a bunch of damage and you just pop one and get right back into the fight. And the other benefit in a W keying sense is going to be that you're usually going to find multiple teams in the area. And obviously you can fight these teams and get kills on them. Combat caches are pretty contested, so I definitely recommend you try to stick around them if you're W keying. Another good option is going for the loot island, since you do get mythics from claiming it. Oftentimes the island does get pretty chaotic, so be ready for a long fight if you do go for it, but you can definitely stack up some good kills. And that's especially the case if the island spawns towards the center of the map where people are rotating into. In that situation, you're going to have an absolute ton of people going for it, so it's really good for getting kills, but it's also going to be dangerous, so that's your call. Lastly, forecast towers are another good one as well, since you do get slurp juices, you get some good weapons, and you get the forecast augment, which although it doesn't do too much in terms of getting more kills, it's still a very useful tool to have, so you can kind of plan ahead and make sure you don't get killed by storm. It's just a really useful thing to have, so I definitely recommend getting them. In my opinion, the biggest key when it comes to mid game is to try and end your fights as fast as possible. With this season having a ton of mobility, people are always third partying, so it's more important than ever to keep the pressure on your opponent and stay aggressive constantly when you're in a fight. Basically, you want to be on them the entire time. You don't want to give them a chance to rest. Of course, this doesn't mean that you should play reckless and push people when you're super low, but it would be a good idea to try and play extra assertive in fights and really be aggressive. That way you can make sure your fights aren't dragging out too long, make sure you don't get third partied or eventually killed. field, especially with slurp juices and stuff like that in the game. People can get to 200 HP over and over and over again, and if you're playing really slow, you can end up fighting the same person basically 5 separate times before you actually get a kill. So to avoid all that, you want to play really aggressive, you want to keep the pressure up, and hopefully by doing that, you should be putting yourself in a really good situation. One really important tip I have for you guys in mid game, especially when it comes to getting more kills in a safe manner, this one is to focus on third-party opportunities. If you can actually catch a fight in progress during mid game, especially if the teams have already taken a good bit of damage, you should be able to pick up some really easy kills. Just make sure that you do play these from a good position, because it's always possible for more teams to jump in. In general, you really want to avoid getting pinched, because that can put you in a really bad spot. Even if you're trying to W key, having a person on each side of your box is definitely not ideal. So if you do find another team coming in, what I recommend you do is try to move to the opposite side of the team you were fighting. That way you can pinch them in between, or you can even try to pinch the third-partying team. But ultimately, the goal here is just to make sure that you're not caught in between the two teams, because if that happens, then you're going to end up getting sprayed by one team, box fighting another team at the same time, and generally it just turns out really bad. So try to avoid being in the center of the fight. Keep in mind that the most third-party opportunities are always going to exist on the hot side of zone, aka the side that people are rotating into from their POIs, rather than the dead side of zone, which is the side nobody's rotating into. To put it simply, when in doubt, staying closer to the center of the map is the most consistent way to find more fights. So if you're trying to W key, focus on playing towards the center of the map or the side that people are rotating into, and you should run into a lot more players. And of course, if you end up in shambles or you need to loot up or something like that, you can always make your way over to the dead side. But obviously, if your goal is to W key, that's very much a backup plan. And finally, guys, getting into the last part of today's video, and the last part we're going to be talking about is endgame. If you W key throughout the game and you're doing pretty good, then you should be fairly confident with a great setup going into endgame. Chances are you're going to have some sort of mythics, plenty of healing, and you're probably going to have a lot of materials too, so you're pretty much already set up. The biggest thing to keep in mind during endgame is that people are usually either pretty stacked or in shambles. So in my opinion, the best strategy to take on during endgame is to focus primarily on two things: third partying and easy kills. By third partying, I simply mean going for shots or kills whenever you see a fight, and easy kills meaning if you find a solo or a duo that's in shambles, for example, then you can pick up easy kills on those without usually having too much trouble. I really don't recommend actually going out of your way to get into fights in endgame, but typically what I recommend doing is trying to intervene in fights that you see going on. The reason for this is that a lot of teams are pretty stacked, and if you find yourself, especially in squads or duos, going against another squad or duo, and y'all are pretty much the two main guys in the lobby, then other people are absolutely going to hop in, try to take the opportunity to end up winning the game, and chances are you're going to end up with a third party fest, and if you're the first two teams fighting, it's probably going to end up bad for you. So generally, you want to be the one doing the third partying and picking off those easy kills, and typically you don't want to actually end up in a 1v1, 2v2, or 4v4 fight. Hopefully that all makes sense, but basically you want to really focus on getting third parties or picking off people that are in bad situations. And when you reach the latest part of the end game, especially as you get closer to moving zones, the best play is really just to focus on getting your materials up and then make a play for high ground. Usually if you can simply play high ground for the final few zones, you're going to pick up super easy kills on people that are below you, and the majority of the time you're going to win these games. It should be fairly straightforward, and usually a great end game is simply the culmination of a great early and mid game. So if you follow all those tips in the early and mid game, hopefully that helps set you up for a fantastic end game. But with all that said, guys, that's going to wrap it up for today's video on how to W key in Fortnite Chapter 4 Season 4. Overall, hopefully this video helped you out. If it did, be sure to drop a like on it, subscribe to the channel if you're new and you want to see more, and as always, it's super appreciated if you could use code Teckoh in the item shop. It's 100% free for you. It only takes a few seconds to type in, and it seriously does help me out a bunch. As always, a giant thank you to everyone who uses it. But with all that said, thank you all for watching this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye for now.